Hi, I'm Chris Colvin. I'm the founder of PARC, which is an organization to help in-house counsel, outside counsel, and legal technologists connect with each other, build their networks, and hopefully advance in our careers and be more successful. And great to see you all here. We are recording this session for those who just joined. You can learn more if you're watching the video later. You can go to parklegal.org and learn all about our organization. But I'm delighted today to have Viveca Hess here with us. She's a LinkedIn expert who works mainly with lawyers and some other professionals to really help us increase our visibility on LinkedIn, get more traction, and ultimately be more successful. And I think Viveca agrees with me that LinkedIn is really the best social media platform for lawyers in most cases. And so it's where most of us should spend most of our time when it comes to social media, digital marketing. So without further ado, Viveca, would you please tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you, Chris, and thank you to the PARC organization for taking time out of your busy day here to meet with me. And I'm a transplanted Swede residing happily in San Diego since '85, and I followed college, UCSD, with a law degree and nearly a decade of law practice experience. And then 2010, about then, I jumped off, created my marketing agency, and I've been partnering with lawyers, firms since about 2010, providing online business development strategies, systems, management consulting, primarily leveraging LinkedIn to do so. And as a former lawyer, I really position my clientele to online while keeping a very close eye on sort of regulatory sensitivities and requirements and just sort of best practices. There are a few of those regulations we need to be mindful of for attorneys. So that's a little bit about my background. And Chris, do you want me to share the screen?
Yes, please do. Did I enable you to do that? I meant to, and if I didn't, I will correct that now.
Yeah,
yes, you're co-hosted. There you go.
All right, are we seeing this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me move some things around here. I'm gonna make this bigger here. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is we're going to go beyond basics, obviously, but what I want to do is do a really quick recap of the basics. And if anybody has questions about some of these basic aspects, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding these. But first off, I just want to make sure that you're all aware that we can customize our URL, make it easier for people to find us. So if you have your name or firm name and then a bunch of numbers and letters, make sure that you go in and customize that. And you go to your me icon and then you click view profile, edit public profile and URL on the right side. And that way you can customize it and cut out all that nonsense letters and numbers and stuff that really don't make sense and make it easy for people to find you. The next thing, background banner, that's that big real estate space you have right behind your thumbnail. Make sure you don't have the default LinkedIn circles, the gray circles, but put something. It can be as easy as a skyline picture if it represents your building or the area you work in, or something related to your industry. Have a professional thumbnail. That's not a typo. That's a mix between personal and professional. So I came up with this word. Yes, it needs to be professional, and then it needs to be very high resolution, professional looking, but make sure you have some personality, that you have sort of an inviting smile or a welcome on your face. Not too serious. The headline, you have 120 characters there. We'll dive into that a little bit more in depth later. But that's really when you don't want to end up with a default headline, which is the most recent title from your experience section. So make sure that you put a little bit of thought into that. We'll get into specifics on that too. Settings check, make sure that you are visible to everybody. By default, LinkedIn has it as such, but sometimes it gets toggled around to just showing to your first level connections. Obviously, the point of being on LinkedIn is to build your network. And so you want to be visible to everybody within LinkedIn, but also outside of LinkedIn. If somebody Googles you, you can be found that way too. So, and another thing you might want to turn off, I usually recommend for my clients, is people who saw your profile also saw these other profiles, and essentially those are your competitors in the same geographical area. So you might want to turn that off. I just think that's better. I mean, and that is not by default turned off. So in the about section, we're going to dive into that a little bit more deeply, but the about section is that really bigger section of 2,000 characters below your thumbnail and everything, where you get to, you really have an opportunity to dive in more into what you do, how you serve, your industries and your background, your authority. So that is not your resume portal. Like Chris said, when we were initially talking, LinkedIn is not where you post your resume or transplant your website bio onto your about section. So it's grown into and evolved into much more than that. So we're going to show you how to take advantage of that. And then finally, make sure that you have a call to action at the end of that about section where you have 2,000 characters. Tell somebody what the next step is. Make sure that you have your contact information. You'd be amazed at how many people do not have their contact information there. So you want to have at least your email, phone number, or an online scheduler if you have that as well. So let's get beyond the basics then. We have a lot to cover: profile view, headline customization, featured section, about section, and the hyperlink. Creator mode is something that you might have heard some buzz about. Sort of the latest bells and whistles that come along with that creator mode. How to share content, both original and when you're reposting other people's content. How do you create it yourself efficiently? Because you're not sitting around LinkedIn like I am all day long. So we're going to talk about how to do that smartly. And do you really need a company page? That's something I also get asked quite a bit. So let's dive right into the profile view. And what this is that's officially what it's called, is a profile view. And what that is a live 30-second video from your thumbnail. And that just got introduced a few months ago by LinkedIn. So basically, this is an opportunity for you to offer to upload, instead of a static picture, a video of 30 seconds, where you get an opportunity to offer sort of that 3-dimensional touch point. And people love to see a video and just sort of see you live and your demeanor, your manner, and what you do, speaking it. So take advantage of that. It can be something as simple as just holding your phone steady and speaking to it and introducing yourself and saying what you do and who you work with, and asking somebody to connect with you or follow you. And so you start building that network. Yes, Chris.
So just really quick, just because I did this literally yesterday, I added a video to my LinkedIn profile, just so people know you cannot do it on your computer. I think you have to do it on your phone. I think you can upload a pre-recorded video if you want. I just took my phone and kind of held it at arm's length and did 2 or 3 takes. And the one I thought was the best, I then kept. And, it was easy to do. The whole experience took me maybe 15 minutes. I did throw on a jacket and a collared shirt for the purpose, since lawyers, sort of are expected, at least at certain times in our career, to dress up a little bit even today. So anyway, just wanted people to know it's pretty easy, but don't even try it on your computer. You got to do it on your phone.
Yeah, good point. And it's sort of a casual video. There's just nothing production style about it. It's just very, very casual. So one of the things you can ask people to do within those 30 seconds, great, Chris said it took you 3 times. It took me 20 times to get it right, but because it's only 30 seconds. But you can ask people to follow you. And once they follow you, they can click the little bell, which is also a new feature. And ironically, as we talked about, you cannot see that bell yourself on your profile. It's a little bell immediately below the background banner on the right side. So ask somebody else to go to your profile, let you know if you have that, because LinkedIn is slowly rolling that out. Not everybody has it. But if somebody clicks that bell, then they can get all your updates in your posts and you connect more closely. Yes. Yeah. Let's dive into the headline here really quick. The headline is that sort of career tagline that you have immediately below your little thumbnail. That, along with the thumbnail, is what travels all over LinkedIn, is what's seen. So that's really important that we don't leave that at the LinkedIn default, which again is what LinkedIn will do if you don't do anything with it. The latest title in your experience section. Okay, don't let that happen. You're not the default attorney. I don't want you to have a default headline. Okay, that's not how you want to be viewed. So put a little bit of a thinker on that. You have 120 characters. It's not a whole lot, but tell me at least what you do, what practice area niche, who you work with, your audience, and what sets you apart. What are the benefits of working with you specifically? It's a lot to pack into 120 characters, but put a little bit of thought into that, because that really is the immediate tagline that people see. So they really get a feel for, having the title managing partner, equity partner, associate, says absolutely nothing. So tough love there. Go, put the thinker on and put something together that actually says something is more meaningful. If you do that, I guarantee you're gonna be, just that in and of itself is going to set you apart from most attorneys who don't even know they can customize that headline. So, and let's
And I'm
dive into.
sorry. Oh, I was just going to mention that I believe the headline character limit is now 220.
It's supposed to be 120. You can customize it if you create it from your mobile. You can go up to 220. You can actually go further than 220. I don't mention that specifically because although you can, that's kind of a workaround, and it's now opening up to that. There's not much reason to go beyond 120. I mean, if you go a few words beyond, you feel you need to, and it's meaningful, then by all means, create it from your mobile, and you can go beyond the 120. But that's one of the reasons I try and stay away from.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it is a hack. You can't get around it. If they're a few words beyond, then go for it. I just keep it right there, because if you go much further, only the first 2 lines are going to show when you travel around LinkedIn anyhow. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So, okay, let's dive into the about section, which is that really big section where only the first 2 lines are really visible. So those 2 lines, 2 to 3 sentences now, and then you want to have a space after that. Try and capture attention with that. I mean, something that's sort of curiosity, evokes some curiosity, or even leaving people with a question, which kind of earns, you earn the see more click. So they want to expand on it and sort of close the loop. If you leave them with a question or pique their curiosity, or say something that's a little bit unique or a different angle on something. So try and do that. Sometimes it's referred to as clickbait. I renamed it to legit bait. Clickbait is sort of an ugly way of doing it. You have a shocker first sentence to draw somebody in, and the rest of it has nothing to do with that initial sentence. So legit bait just simply means that you're putting some thought into capturing somebody's attention, and you're sort of really earning that see more. So you have an opportunity to elaborate on what you do, and doing so in a story format. It's this about section is a blend between keywords, obviously from a search engine optimization standpoint. And this is sort of what I work very closely with attorneys on, is how do we mix the keywords so that you get found from a purely, search engine optimization standpoint, and your unique story, what only you have that puts you way out of the competition. There's only one you with your story and your background. So let's surface that a little bit along with, your accomplishments, your accolades, peer reviews, whatever you have, but do it in a very benefits driven, client facing manner. So it's not just a bullhorn about all your accomplishments, but really, so the reader says, what's in it for me? And they get some responses. They can kind of glean that in the story format. So again, that's what's really different from the way we as lawyers used to treat the about section, which was more of a bulleted resume style, kind of dry, kind of boring. You do that all day long at work. So have some fun with this, give a little bit of flavor, some personality, your voice to it. It's different than the legal drafts that we put out every day. Yes, Chris.
Quick question, because I've heard this one a lot, and I'm interested in your take. Third person or first person in your profile?
First person all the time. First person
all the time.
Please. Okay. Third person is we're really getting away from it. Third person is sort of formalistic. It's how a lot of us grew up from law school. Using third person. Really get away from that, because what you're trying to do is connect with another human being. I don't care if they're like a titan of industry or they're a small business owner. We're all human beings. Even the global companies, multinational companies, they consist of human beings. And when somebody goes to your profile, they're not looking to connect with your firm. They're looking to connect with you as a human being. So use first person.
Yes, that makes sense. I also think they all know you wrote it, so it's
exactly. Yeah. So and then at the end of that about section, have that call to action. So you have 1 or 2 ways of reaching out to you, and just kind of, hold their hand and show them exactly what the next steps are. So that's, there's a lot that can be done with that about section. And that's probably where I see most of the work that needs to be updated for attorneys who have just taken their bio from their website and slapped it right into their about section. That's not what LinkedIn is anymore. So, and why should we do it in a sort of a story format? And there are some stats behind this. The neural activity increases 5 times when you're listening to a story, whether you're a kid or an adult. That's just a fact. Clients are 71% more likely to recommend a brand, and you are a brand, you are your own brand, that they've connected with emotionally. And if there's an emotional connection, there's also sort of an elevated level of trust between you. Brand storytelling throughout your online marketing strategy, whether it's LinkedIn or any other channel, really increases the value of your service by more than 20%. Consumers, clients, they really want content that feels like a story and less of a pitch or a sell or promotion. People will remember a story up to 20 times more longer than they will a list of figures and facts, which is exactly what I'm doing. So now we move on to the rest of my story.
And Viveca, one of the things in the chat reminded me, we have a mix of both in-house and outside counsel lawyers. So to the extent you're able to sort of, modulate your advice about those two groups, I think most people tend to think, oh, well, you don't really need, quote unquote, marketing when you're in-house. I don't agree with that, but I do think it might be slightly different how you present yourself. But anyway.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And reach out to me afterwards, and I will show you a link of in-house counsel that made a post that went absolutely bonkers viral. It was very, very clever. It has a huge sense of humor. And it also explains why general counsel or in-house counsel, positioning on LinkedIn and offering the culture of the business or the firm is really important as well, especially if you're looking to attract talent. So we're going to go back to, I'll try and keep that in mind too, but if we have specific questions that sort of distinguishes the two, let's raise those as we go too. But in the About section, just a few months ago, it might not seem like a big deal, but it actually is. LinkedIn rolled out the hyperlink in your About. So you get one hyperlink. That means you couldn't put any links in your About section before that transported anywhere else, for example, to your website or a specific page on your website or anything else. Now we have one hyperlink that actually transports out anywhere you want. The hack is, since you only have one link, you can get an account with something called Linktree or similar, which is essentially a mini landing page where you can add other links. So you have that one link transport to the landing page, then you might want to add 2 or 3 links. So that's one way of sort of expanding that. I wouldn't go crazy with it. I mean, people don't want to be going all over the place, but if you have 2 others that you would want to offer to a specific page on your website or update or a presentation or something like that, then certainly implement that. But that's new for LinkedIn just a few months ago. And then the featured section, we're going to see 2 examples here, outstanding examples. The featured section is not visible by default. So these are 3 big thumbnails where you have an opportunity to showcase what you offer. It can be a presentation, a video, it can be a newsletter, it can be a post, it can be a really well-performing post. And so what you have to do then is you have to go in to your profile settings and you add a section, and it's simply called the features section. So you have to kind of go in there affirmatively and add that on. And this is what it looks like. Yours truly, the BLT lawyer, right here. The featured section, as you can see, it's really high up. I mean, right center above the fold, a very prominent positioning there. So showcase what you have there. Whether it's a white paper, a presentation, whatever it is, or a post that did really well. Chris, you're doing really well with this. You have the posts feeding into this, and I think that's great. I mean, you have some really important announcements.
Such as your presentation.
Really important. But seriously, any sort of rich media is what you can post there. And that just gives a fuller, more holistic picture of everything you have to offer, and sort of builds your authority too, because it's very prominent, very visible when somebody goes to your profile.
Yeah, I'm trying to play around with sort of my background picture. So following your advice of try to make it a little personal, I sort of mocked up a new background, as you can see, BLT lawyer, because I combine business, legal, and technical experience. Hopefully that's valuable to some people. I thought, have a little fun with it. It's not like, obviously, laugh out loud funny, but it's maybe a little lighter than most stuff we do on a day-to-day legal practice. just being kind of a quirky acronym. And I did a poll. It was very interesting. I did a poll and I said, hey,
Okay.
what do you all think of this? And I had a pretty good response. You know, I got actually valuable feedback on it. So I don't know if you're going to cover LinkedIn polls, but I think that's a new-ish feature that I really enjoyed it. And I think people had fun with it. Like some of them kind of made fun of me and said the colors are kind of blah, you better spice them up a little bit. But that's great feedback, you know. And so anyway, I encourage
Yeah.
people to lighten it up a little bit and maybe engage in a little polling. Like it doesn't even need to be work related. You could say, yeah, I don't know, I'm
Right.
getting a new dog. What's your favorite breed, or whatever it happens to be, you know.
So we'll talk about polls. I'm going to zip through the featured section. Here is just another example. I don't know who this is, but this person has, that would be me, has a newsletter. I have a newsletter in the left, so you can click that and subscribe. It's a monthly newsletter, and then a free resource, which is how to use LinkedIn to leverage for lawyers. And then I have a link to my podcast. So whatever rich media you have, presentations or anything like that, that's where I would put it. We're going to go into creator mode. So some of you may have heard creator mode just got going 6 months ago or so. And, you know, some attorneys say, well, I'm not really a creator. Why, you know, should I even pay attention to it? Well, yes, you are a creator. You're constantly creating content, whether it's for your clients or, you know, referrals, a referral network that you're building on LinkedIn. They're still rolling it out. So it's a little bit clunky. I don't think they rolled it out to everybody quite yet. And so the question is, you know, and I held back with creator mode for a while because one of the things we've talked about too, Chris, is that the connect button, which makes it really easy, right? Very prominently switches to a follow button. Now you can update that so you have both a follow and a connect button, or you can simply go to creator mode and replace the follow with a connect if it's clearer. But so it kind of depends on whether you're going to make that connection or simply follow somebody and they follow you back. Again, they can't see the bell icon, which gives them an update every time you post something or publish something, unless they follow at least. So this puts all your content, all your activity, it bumps it way up. So right by the features section. So the thing I would say about that is if you're posting, either sharing other people's posts or content, adding your bit to it, or you're creating, you know, original content, which I hope you do every now and again, at least. If you're doing that on a fairly regular basis, then switch to creator mode, because with creator mode, LinkedIn is also extending a lot of new tools, and there are more coming that you can take advantage of. Without creator mode, you won't be sort of on the forefront of some of these tools. They're not all applicable to attorneys, I think, but there is one in particular that I think would be really good for us to adopt. So that's kind of the thinker behind creator mode. Yes.
Quick question. Do you need, you mentioned the video, recording the 30-second video. Do you need to be in creator mode to record that video, or could any LinkedIn member do it?
You know, I don't think you need to be in creator mode to have that. I'm not entirely sure, to be quite honest. I have to look into that, but I take that back. I think you do need to be in creator mode. Actually, I had this conversation with somebody just a few days ago. I think you do need creator mode to do the thumbnail, the profile view, as we call it.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's jump into some of the bells and whistles of LinkedIn Live. So some of the newfangled things that LinkedIn has rolled out is LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn Audio, and LinkedIn Events. And events are probably the one that I think that are most important to attorneys and firms. But LinkedIn Live is basically allows members to live stream a broadcast video. LinkedIn loves it. It's going to give you a lot of traction and a really good reach because it's still relatively new. They just started beta testing it 2 years ago, and I was one of the guinea pigs in the beta. And we had enormous reach when it first came out, and you still do if you put the work into it. And that's the key. It takes a little bit of work. There's some moving pieces you need, and LinkedIn has only approved of about 5 or 6 third-party tools to live stream it. And you also, it's an application process. So in your application, LinkedIn looks at certain criteria, the quality of your posts. Have you done a lot of posts in the past, or native posts? And are you, most importantly, are you in good standing with LinkedIn? And what do I mean by that? It means that you need to follow the terms of service for LinkedIn. So this is where I sort of give my warning. Do not use any sort of automation or bots to reach out to anybody or to create content. LinkedIn sees that, and we've been seeing a lot of folks going to LinkedIn jail. So in theory, you get 2 warnings, third time you're out. And then you can't resurface with your proper name. And so I see a lot of marketers, and I've seen a few legal marketers that are, guaranteeing X number of leads, questionable whether they're quality leads, but anyhow, X number of leads by, tomorrow. Just be wary of it. Ask them how they do that. Ask them if they're doing any automation or bots in place. There's so many automations you can do otherwise in your law firm processes, but not with LinkedIn. You'll get in trouble there. And so that they've been really keeping a close eye on that. So be in good standing. Just I'd rather see somebody post once a week, and spend a little time on that content rather than automating anything, just to make sure that you have 5 days a week and try and reach as many people as possible. It's not, LinkedIn really will shut you down quickly. So, and let's go into the audio. The audio is for anybody who's heard the term or knows anything about Clubhouse. It's a purely audio only format, anywhere from 15 minutes to 3 hours. You have one host, and then they can invite co-hosts, and only they can invite anybody in the audience that's registered for the audio event to join the stage and ask questions or participate, add something to the conversation. A little bit clunky still. LinkedIn is working it out, but you don't have a chat room, for example, so you have to raise your hand with a little emoji to point out that you have a question or that you want to come up to the stage. So it's you can use this connection with other things like LinkedIn Live too. Then there are quite a few moving parts. So talk to somebody or Google it, well beforehand. But it's a nice format. I mean, you do get to sit there in your pajamas and do an audio, right? So that's convenient.
And I assume there's like no slides like you're doing. You would have, it's more
No.
like it's like a radio call-in program, basically.
No slide, no chat. What people have, some of the audio rooms that I've been in, cleverly done, and I think LinkedIn is working towards creating a chat so you can see the questions or the engagement. So from participants in the audience, what LinkedIn is working towards is creating that chat. But people have done a workaround. It's a little bit clunky, and you have to sort of look at 2 different threads. But they'll start a group in the DMs, so the direct messages of people that are in the audience, and then people can chat in that DM. So you have 2 screens, and it's kind of messy, but that's something that has been done. I've seen. I don't think I could handle that, but this is basically what the LinkedIn audio looks like. So you have the host in the upper corner, and then you have audience below, and you have about 5 symbols you can use to raise your hand to be called up on stage or ask a question. And I know that it's been a bit glitchy if you're trying to chime in from your smartphone, from your mobile. So that's something they're still working on. We're going to jump right into LinkedIn events. And I think this is really what's going to be most important to, especially to attorneys. And these are professional forums. And the roles include an organizer, a host of the event, who creates the event, the details, invites the attendees, and sort of positions that on their company page, which is one of the reasons you want to have a company page. Attendees is a member who either accepts that invitation or sees the event and joins on their own. And there are a few different ways you can set that event up. You can do a LinkedIn event that feeds right into a LinkedIn Live, but then you don't have the chat. Or you can do a LinkedIn event that feeds into a Zoom link in a Zoom room, which is what I do. So the 3rd Thursday of every month, this Thursday, the 24th at 9 a.m. If anybody wants to jump in on that, it's completely free. We're going to be talking about how to brand and position attorneys on LinkedIn. But so I use a Zoom room. So I have the chat. Yes.
Yeah, and Viveca, if you want to send me that invite, I can get it out to the whole PARC community so that we can, see you again and learn from you again. And I'd also enjoy experiencing a LinkedIn event just to sort of understand how it all works.
Sure. Can I put that into the feed after?
Pop it
Okay.
into the chat whenever it's convenient.
I
Oh, and
will.
by the way, someone did ask, and I don't want to forget this.
Yeah.
Someone asked if they're looking for a job, I think an in-house counsel looking for a new job, what's the best way to use LinkedIn?
Yeah, interesting questions. So LinkedIn is very aware of this. It can be a very, and there are attorneys that are jumping ship, or they're creating their, their own firm. And obviously we can't work on their LinkedIn profile. You don't want to raise red flags, and maybe they're trying to keep it sort of quiet until they've made their transition or whatever it entails. LinkedIn is aware of this, and there's a way of promoting yourself and getting yourself out there without your HR or your firm seeing it. I don't know too much about it, but we can certainly, you can Google that. And I forget, it's called LinkedIn Private or LinkedIn. It's not incognito, but there's a way to do that so that you're not bringing it to the attention of your current firm or
So like
HR.
only like recruiters can see that you're looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
I forget exactly what it's called, but there is that feature for LinkedIn because they're aware of it. And sometimes when I work with attorneys that are shifting gears, we'll work on their profile on the back end, in Google Docs or whatever. And then when they're ready, then we upload it and publish it the same day or whatever. So
yeah, and by the way, in my interactions with in-house lawyers looking for work, just in case anyone doesn't already know this, I think the LinkedIn jobs function is really good. It's a high quality job search especially for in-house lawyers. I don't think it works quite as well for law firms. Also, goinhouse.com is pretty good as well. I think it's in some ways being superseded by LinkedIn is sort of my sense. I may be wrong about that, but if you're looking, I would get on both those platforms, and you'll get email alerts from both platforms, and they're pretty good and pretty current.
Okay. I don't even know too much about that exactly.
I'll fill you in. You've taught me so much. I'm happy to share that with you so you can pass it on to your client.
And just one last thing on the LinkedIn events too is that all the attendees in that event, you obviously have that commonality, that common interest in the topic or the speakers. You could easily on that dashboard where you see the thumbnails of others, just click the thumbnail and it pops up their profile right away while you're still in the audio in the event. So the audio event. So you can connect with people that are attending the audio events. That's one nice feature about audio events too. So, all right, let's talk about sharing content. And this is kind of a big one. So we might have to have a second one, but sharing content, how do you share content? That's something that sometimes lawyers get really sort of stuck on, how long is it? How short is it? I really don't have time. And what's still high quality when I don't have too much time. The best of course is creating original content. And what we're seeing LinkedIn really reward people for is long form text posts without many graphics, unless it's a carousel post, which we'll talk about. But originally you can repost from other people's posts. Either they have articles or they just had kind of a longer text post that you thought was really good and you think is of benefit to your particular audience. Go ahead and reshare that, but be really sure that you add your 2 cents, your 2 bits to it. So tell the audience why you're resharing it. You think it's a particular value to them, and then add your perspective to it. LinkedIn does not appreciate you and will penalize you actually if you reshare other people's content without adding anything to it. So you won't score any points there. They kind of see it as being lazy and thinking you're being active because you're reposting or resharing other people's content. So just add a few sentences there about why you think it's of value to your audience, if nothing else.
Can I just add one comment on my own experience with resharing? I find it can be a very valuable tool to connect with people in the following way. Like if you say something you're genuinely interested in and think is worth resharing with your community, sort of your followers and other people who are aware of you on LinkedIn, I find it's a great way to sort of give a shout out to someone else. Like, hey, Viveca Hess just posted this amazing article about how to make better use of LinkedIn. Tag Viveca and share it with your followers. And what I find is that you get a lot of gratitude, and you can, by the way, you don't need to be connected with someone to reshare. So it's happened to me several times in the last 6 months where I reshared some content and said, I think this is a really insightful comment that so-and-so had. And I'd say at least 50% of the time within an hour, I get a connection request. And it's usually someone interested in being connected with. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point too. There's a lot of value, and I call so there's a lot of gold to be had in the comments. So if there is a thread and you find it interesting and you kind of hop in there and add to it, and you can certainly reshare that post that has sort of elicited that many comments, and you will get, if you can see that, and you add to the conversation, you will get connection requests from people in that group. So it's a really nice way to pay attention in the comments as well as resharing the post. Yeah, that's a really good point. And, I mean, LinkedIn is really about just meriting attention. You want to get engagement and shares. Your content needs merit, but by providing value, by original insights, some other type of benefit. So one of the keys is two things. First, you have to have sort of a goal in mind. So you're not just sort of spraying and praying and doing things sort of in a random way, but have a set goal for what you're doing with your LinkedIn, with your content there. And obviously one of the goals should be to speak in the most relevant way to your particular audience, which assumes that you have a pretty good grasp and understanding of your target audience, what their pain points are, what they need help with potentially, or some of the questions from your experience, comes from your audience. So use strong content. What I mean by that is don't be afraid to use your voice, some flavor, some personality, your vision, your passion driver, what your why is. That's really important. And we hear a lot of people saying, find out what your why is. Well, I mean, what propels you in a certain direction? Why did you even go to law school? And what is it, and how has that evolved? And a lot of times when I do interviews with lawyers, I ask them in the interview, I say, let's start off some of the easier questions. Let's dive down. Let's figure out, what were some of the dark times? How did you get through it? And people really want to see you as a human, how you've evolved and why you're doing what you're doing. They want to see the battle scars. They don't necessarily want to see the pus or the blood, but they do want to see the battle scars. And they want to see that you're human. You had your ups and downs, and this is the value you bring now with that insight. So don't be afraid of doing that. That's a big conversation I have with attorneys that are used to sort of fitting into a sort of anticipated mold, if you will, that we all had when we came out of law school. I mean, I don't know about you. I was running scared. I had to fit a certain mold, and then we get more comfortable, more confident. We kind of break out of that eventually a little bit more. But post regularly, obviously 2 to 3 times is really the sweet spot, at least twice a week, especially if you're considering creator mode and access to some of those tools like LinkedIn events. And measure, evaluate from your profile. You don't have access to many analytics. There are some third-party tools that you can use to evaluate, but from your LinkedIn company page, which is another reason to have a LinkedIn company page, you get access to a lot more analytics. LinkedIn is putting a lot of resources, money, effort into the LinkedIn company page because it was pretty dormant for many years. So we're seeing a real revival in the company page. For example, they have a tab specifically if you're looking to recruit talent for your firm. There's a tab for that. And there's a portal on the company page where they can actually apply and you can kind of schedule meetings. So that's really nice. But
yeah, and I just want to add here, because my own personal experience, one huge benefit of having a company page is on your own profile, it will populate your profile with your company's logo. So even if you're at a smaller company that doesn't have a company page, why not go ahead and do it? Let's say you're an in-house lawyer, one of a small number of in-house lawyers at a smaller company, or even a solo GC. Ask your CEO, hey, can I grab the logo and put up a company page? And then when people look at your profile, they'll see your company, they can click and link to it. It's a big difference maker. It makes your profile look so much more professional.
Yeah, you don't want to end up, again, it's that, getting away from the default, the little gray ghost buildings, as I call them. Thanks, Chris. You want to professionalize that so that the logo, then make sure that your staff, key stakeholders, partners, and associates, that they're linked to that company page. So in their profiles, that logo sort of auto populates as well to professionalize their profiles. When people go to the company page, they might have heard of your firm, your company. What they're going to do is they're going to sort of get a feel for the company at large, the posts and the culture of the company firm. And then they're going to go pinpoint to certain individuals that they want to check out. And they'll do that through the employee attached to that company page. And then they'll go to your profile. So then you want to make darn sure that your profile is looking pretty spiffy too. But that's how the two sort of interact too. And So we kind of covered, the original long form content. LinkedIn is really loving that. The algorithm is rewarding us for that. OPC, other people's content, add your 2 bits, your angle, your perspective. And adjacent industry related content, meaning you can get out of your very, very narrow lane and mention and post and get a little bit creative in terms of what's sort of tangentially related to what you do to show sort of a fuller, holistic human being that has, several interests. But no matter what you do, through all the posts that I create or co-create with my attorneys or other professionals, it has to be, we've seen people-centric content that by far blows away the reach and the resonance with all sorts of folks with their clients. So make sure that it's sort of around people, you're celebrating partners or new associates or staff, or you have events, you have fundraisers, whatever it is, or a cause that you have, in your firm, sort of some of the value-driven causes behind your firm. Make sure that you highlight that, because if you are again looking to recruit, whether it's GC or an associate or whoever it is that you're looking to attract to your firm, they're going to go to your company page and your profiles and see, what is the culture, especially I'd say in the younger generations. Yes, the dollar still means something, but they really are looking at culture. And they want to see, is there room to evolve here? Are they going to be listening to me? Is there some aspect that's a little bit more fun? How do they reward us for working hard? I mean, so they're very much looking at culture, and that's important to post those updates on your company page to give a flavor of what your firm is. And every firm that I've worked with, everyone has their own story. Even the firm itself has a very unique story. So try and focus on that. And then very practically speaking, when it comes to content, everything from like what Chris was talking about, polls. Polls started about a year ago, really had an upswing, and we've seen them all over the place. They range from absurd, boxers or briefs, to something that's a little bit more relevant, and everything in between. So if you're doing a poll, I say just keep it somewhat relevant. Don't be completely ridiculous about it. When polls took off, people were putting anything out there just because it was a poll and they knew they'd get traction. Keep it relevant. Keep it related somehow to what you're doing, or something that you really want to understand better, and you're really eliciting, a response and tell people, I want to find out, is this important to you? Would you rather do this or that? What are the options for you, so that I can build on that and be really sort of in tune with what the needs are out there. And you're keeping up to date. Carousels, these are the multi-slide posts that we see that you kind of swipe left. And they can be anywhere from 4 to, I've seen them up to 20 posts. They take a long time to create, but LinkedIn loves them. So text posts, or if you're adding images, try and do 2 or 3 visual presentations of a point you're trying to make, and just very, very clean, very simple. That extends what we call the dwell time. So you're stopping the scroll, and it's almost like a heat map. LinkedIn will know that somebody stops there, they're looking at it, they're curious about the next post or the next point or the next question or suggestion, and you swipe. That extends that dwell time. LinkedIn says, oh, okay, within the first few minutes, they see, okay, people are attracted to this, and bam, it starts feeding it to exponentially to a much wider audience. So that's kind of the idea behind those visual carousels. So, in that case, I'd say hire me. Well, you can, but hire somebody that's a designer that really has a good sense of creating a well-branded design for those carousel posts. And you can create 1 or 2 templates that you use every now and again. You don't have to do a new one for each time, certainly, but that's a good way, a visual way, a friendly way of presenting certain points or updates. And engagement posts, and with a question, and engage. So you're not just checking a box. You're not ending a post with a question, with a genuine question about what others think or what they have to add. Pay attention to it. And again, I know you're lawyering. You're not sitting on LinkedIn like I am. If you do that post with a question at the end to get that engagement, then revisit that a few hours when you have some breathing room. A few hours later in the evening, whatever, check it out, see what comments are there, and respond to them. Because that's the goal. That's where you start building relationships with potential clients or partners, referral partners, your network. So that's really, really important. So don't just throw it out there and then forget about it. Go visit it, even if it's just 2 minutes. That's all you have.
Hey,
Then,
Viveca, I just wanted
yep.
to give you, as in my moderator role, which I don't always like doing, but we have about 10 minutes left or less. So I just wanted to let you know, if you want to leave time for verbal Q&A, you might want to proceed to that pretty soon.
Yeah, okay. Let's do content efficiently. Again, you can repurpose. Now you're not taking content on from one channel and repurposing that verbatim. You do need to tweak it a little bit depending on what it is. If it's a long blog post into videos, you can record a podcast, have that transcribed into smaller, snippets of social media for LinkedIn or anywhere. Checklists people love, turn podcast transcripts into a longer blog post. So there are certain ways of doing it, but you're not sort of copy and pasting. That's not what we're talking about. Finally, I just want to squeeze in LinkedIn company pages. I just talk really fast now. Do you really need one? Yes, you do. If nothing else, you need to, like we said, professionalize that logo from your profile. It also is a second platform. So if somebody's searching for your firm or company name, it's going to drastically improve discoverability in LinkedIn, but more importantly, from Google as well. So that alone, it gives you so much search engine optimization juice that some firms actually pay Google AdWords campaigns upward 10,000, 15,000 a month for. So that's a very easy, less expensive way to get more of that search engine optimization that we talk about. And catch my breath here. So beyond basics, the recap here is just what we talked about: profile view, the headline customization, add the featured section, some rich media there, the about section, tell your story, tell it in a story format, capture attention that way. Use a hyperlink if you do have a relevant way that you want to transport somebody. Use the creator mode if it makes sense to you. If you want to have access to those tools, if you think LinkedIn events is going to be beneficial, which I suspect for most it will be. How do you share content? Original content is great. If you repost, add to it. Creating content efficiently, repurpose, but tweak it depending on what the form of the medium is. And do you need a company page? Yes. Whew. Okay. I don't think I haven't talked that fast for a long time. So.
This is fantastic. So should we leave a few minutes for questions then? I can stop the share if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's unspotlight, just because it's a little more conversational if we remove the spotlight, I think. This is absolutely amazing content. Thank you so much. Really.
Oh, sure. I know it's a lot and I went fast, but again, if anybody has questions, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer questions. And like I said, I do set aside 2 hours in the next few days. If anybody wants a completely free 20-minute, audit of your profile or company page or any questions you have, I'm happy to do that. But I specifically set aside 2 hours just as thanks for being with me today. And I know everybody's really busy, so I appreciate it.
And before we run out of time, can I ask you, you don't need to decide now, but I think everyone would love to have you back. So if you're willing to come back in a month or so, maybe what we can do is try that LinkedIn events
Sure.
tied in with Zoom. I'm not sure how that works, but I think we usually meet by Zoom. But if we can tie that into LinkedIn events, then maybe we can experiment with that, because I think part of the thing we try to do with this group is help teach people these tools by actually using them, in this laboratory meeting we have each Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So
yeah,
that would be a great way to extend that to, like, hey, I'll probably do it embarrassingly badly, but that just means you guys can do it so much better when you use it as a.
It'll make us all look great.
Exactly. I mean, I'm the
joking.
youngest of 4 kids. I always used to making better people look good. So anyway, and Rob Bavarnik, I think, has a question. I saw his hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. First of all, Viveca, this was unbelievable. I'm just
totally. Oh, thank you. Great.
And I will definitely be following up with you. But Dan in the chat asked a question, and I did a follow-up. He asked about premium, and then I'm wondering about Sales Navigator. If there's any value for attorneys to consider those too.
Yeah, I haven't seen Sales I haven't seen Sales Navigator, which is the biggest of the premiums. The only thing Sales Navigator does is it really allows you to get very granular in your searches and create lists, search lists. And it has like 2025 demographics that you can dig into if you're getting really, really specific. I don't see that and here, I mean, the truth be told, it's what a lot of marketers were using to send out massive invites indiscriminately. It's not my style. I don't really, I don't advocate for that at all. I think, be selective in your outreach. If you'd be amazed how flattered people are and willing to connect if you spend but 30 seconds on their profile. So you know something about them, and you're reaching out, and I see, you have a connection, you have an interest, and you show why. When I reach out to attorneys and I just add that bit, they're just so flattered that I've taken time to look at their profile that I have, like a 95% conversion on that connection request if I think somebody's really interesting and we have something in common. So Sales Navigator is more to what marketers used to do on mass. And I don't think that's a really good technique. I don't think it's sustainable. I think you risk getting kicked off LinkedIn. But
yeah, can I add my 2 cents with
of course,
specifically with regard to legal, because I know a lot of senior in-house
Yeah.
lawyers who hand out legal business, including my wife is a very senior in-house lawyer. I don't think that's very, very salesy approach works. I think the way to use LinkedIn and all forms of networking, if you're an outside counsel looking to connect with in-house lawyers, it's a way of getting to know them and gaining their camaraderie and a modicum of trust. And I think that's the only way anyone's ever going to hire you, is if they think you're good at what you do and they like you personally and they think you're a straight shooter. I don't think approaching anyone in a salesy way on LinkedIn, I think it's actually counterproductive. I think they may think, I'm sure as heck never gonna hire that person because they sent me a sales pitch on LinkedIn. So I think in legal particularly, that is not the right approach. That's just one guy's view, but I just think our business is kind of old fashioned that way, which in many ways I think is a good thing, because I do think you should hire people you know and like and respect from some prior interaction. But Elizabeth also has a question.
Yes, so in terms of sharing content, there are a lot of groups that you can belong to on LinkedIn. So if I create content, will I get better outreach just sharing it across LinkedIn? Should I also be posting it in particular groups that it's relevant to?
I mean, you can do, but so you're creating content on a very regular basis.
Not right now, but but I have, so there are times, there are times I comment on people's stuff, but yes, if there's something that I think is really worth sharing, for example, that could be relevant to, say, biotech attorneys, could be relevant to, different kinds of groups. So let's say I write up something because of a recent case. Does it make sense to post in those groups and also share, or do you just share?
No, I would. It sounds like that's pretty high level content. It's going to entail some I assume some fairly sophisticated language and copy. So I mean, I would save those that are pretty high level when it refers to specific cases or rulings in the groups that have a very sort of narrow niche or specific focus on that. You can take that same content, again, trying to be efficient about the content, take that same content, and I'm not going to say dumb it down, but I'm just saying generalize it a little bit more when you post it from your feed, right? So in a group, supposedly, I think it's much more focused, right, around, let's say, biotech issues and rulings.
Viveca, real quick, we're about to run out of time. Are you able to stay on a few extra minutes? I know some people probably will drop off, and that's fine, but are you okay staying for a few minutes if people have...
Yeah, I absolutely am. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I wanted to mention in regard to, this is my perspective, and I'm sorry I'm calling someone out. I hope he's not embarrassed, but I've found Elliot Alderman has been posting recently on LinkedIn third-party content and adding really insightful, brief but insightful comments on what he's seeing. And that's, at least whatever the algorithm, it's popping up on my feed a lot more often. And so I think Elliot, I want to hold him out as a, at least for me, an exemplar of, hey, that's really interesting. His selection is very good. And now we overlap in our practices, so that probably has something to do with it. But I find it really helpful, and I think it gives him credibility because he's making intelligent commentary, but it's less work than creating an original piece of content himself. So anyway, just to check out what Elliot's been posting, and it's really, I think, good stuff.
Yeah, no, I will do that. So I don't know if that answered, Elizabeth, if that answered your question too, as to more specific content, sort
I'm on a Zoom
of high
call.
level
What's up?
content in the groups. And
Can I also add to that, because you mentioned about tagging, and and I know sometimes LinkedIn will suggest tags. I mean, how do we? I sometimes find that confusing in terms of how do I tag this to enable people, I guess, to pass it on or to make it relevant.
so are you talking
know, like those Twitter tag, with the hashtags, with the keywords.
Yes, absolutely. If there's a specific topic within biotech, you can, at the end of your post, if you're making a point of it, at the end of the post, do the hashtag that you think people would use to research or find any information about that particular topic. What I suggest is 1 or 2. Don't go crazy on the hashtags. We didn't really touch on this, but LinkedIn will also penalize you if you go, beyond 10 hashtags. This is not Twitter. It's not Instagram. Save it to have 2 or 3 hashtags. What I usually recommend is have one that's unique to your practice or your firm or you. I have Law Biz Viv. And then people can follow that to get updates, as well as the bell that we were talking about. And then you have one that's more general, relevant to your practice area. So 2 to 3, and then get used to tagging those on at the bottom of your post. Do a few spaces and then the hashtags. And that way you start popping up when people are looking for certain topics as well. Now, tagging people to bring it to their attention, if you've made a post and you think it's going to be important or a value to somebody, in your network, then don't put that tag in the body of the post. You always want to put the tag @ with no space and then the name in the first comment. Okay. LinkedIn doesn't like you tagging people in the body of your post. So make sure that if you're tagging it because you think it's going to be of value to somebody, you want to bring it to their attention, tag in the first comment. Your
That's
own.
good
your own
advice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
that
Any
helps.
other questions? This has been great. I'm excited to have you back, Viveca, because it was such useful information. I feel like LinkedIn is such a complex beast that even though, I've been on it at least more than 10 years now, but it changes and there's a lot of hidden value. And I feel like all of us have had that sort of screaming into the void, spray and pray, cliche. Like, I feel like, no one's reading this.
Let me just say, because we do feel sometimes it's a bit of an echo chamber.
Yes.
I've felt that, and we're in it for the long game. That's the quality. It's a qualitative long game. We're not in it to get 20 leads tomorrow or yesterday. So, I've talked to attorneys like that, and it's just not a good fit. But for the most part, I think most of us should be in it for the long game. It's how you don't go to a dinner party or a networking event in real life and hand them a card and walk away, right? We don't do that on LinkedIn either. You nurture relationships and you quickly learn, who are you going to go a little bit deeper with, who's going to be just kind of another type of relationship, but you nurture them, over the long haul.
Yeah, I remember early in my career having this realization that all my billings, as an IP litigator, there were what people were spending on me was worth a car or multiple cars or a whole fleet of cars. And it was it put it in perspective. It's like most of us are selling a big ticket item. Apologies for my dog. The kids, they got home from school.
I love it. That's real. That's human.
Yeah, exactly. But, we're selling a big ticket item and we're not going to it's not an impulse buy. This is a long process. And if you're an in-house lawyer, you're still selling something. You're selling your career as someone who either will move up within your current organization or move laterally and hopefully up in either a larger or a better organization, whatever your target is. So we're all in this very high ticket item business, and it's a long cycle. So
you're absolutely right. This is a long sales, if you will, a sales cycle. It's more of a long nurturing cycle. People are going to be giving you a lot of money and entrusting you sometimes with their lives, with their livelihood or their business or their home or whatever it is. And that's a big deal. So they need to be nurtured and they need to have that level of trust. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of showing some personality and showing that you're a human being. You have your ups and downs, and everybody has a different level of sharing, comfort level there. But kind of step out of that mold that we are so indoctrinated with when it comes to what a lawyer is and how we speak
Right.
and how we present ourselves, and show some personality. And I can guarantee you on LinkedIn, as a real life, it's going to resonate with people, and there's going to be a higher level of trust. So if and when they need your services, you're going to be front and center, because there is that level of trust. So
yeah, and can I make one more? I really want to appeal to people.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to appeal to people and Viveca is very good at this, and she can help you guys with this. This needs to be part of your professional life. This is not, networking on LinkedIn and elsewhere. It is not something to do when you need a new job. It's not
Right.
something to do when you're desperate for a new client. It is something to bake into day in, day out, week in, week out, bake it into your professional life and do it in a way that you enjoy. So I don't know if I said it at the beginning of the session, but I've said it in other sessions. It's like exercise. If you're doing an exercise which you hate, guess what? You're not going to do it. If you're on a diet you hate, guess what? You're not going to do it. You're human, Yeah, it's the same thing when it comes to networking. So find a group you enjoy. I hope some of you enjoyed this group. Some of you do. I hope more do. But whatever you enjoy, and some of you enjoy posting certain things on LinkedIn, some of you don't. Just find something that's sustainable, right? That's what this is really all about. And I think Viveca exemplifies that because she makes it fun, she makes it interesting. So anyway, that brings me to thank you so much. I really appreciate you going over time here.
Of
I
course,
will
of
post
course.
this video. There was a
Okay, can I,
question.
oh, I'm sorry. Can
Yeah,
I
one more, but
squeeze in?
just let me let people know I am going to post this video. Some people ask in the chat, so before
And
people
please connect with
start
me.
leaving,
Connect.
I'll post it on LinkedIn as well as on the PARC website. So go ahead. One more question. I don't know. Someone.
Yeah, I want to squeeze it in really fast.
Yeah, please.
What are
Yeah.
the pros and cons on follow versus connect?
Yeah, so follow, you're going to be getting updates. When you follow somebody, you'll just get updates on their posts and their updates. You need to connect if you want to have a private conversation in the DMs, as we call it, the direct messaging. So that's where you have an opportunity to have more of a private conversation and sort of evolve from there. So that's really the biggest difference between follow and connect.
Okay, because I've seen so many articles about like first tier connections where people can reach out to you versus second tier or third tier connections. And I didn't know how that played into the follow scenario.
Yeah, follow, you just get an update and then maybe, sometimes that's all you want at that point, but connection, you can take it to a very different level and sort of the direct messaging and have a one-on-one conversation privately.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, of
And
course.
a quick question, if that's okay, just regarding connection. Is there a finite number that you should have? So meaning, does your profile have less credibility if you have a lot of random connections versus those that might be meaningful? I've heard anecdotally.
Yeah, great question. So a lot of those are vanity metrics, and I do warn people to, and it's hard not to be impressed by people that have thousands of the connections. You can get a maximum of 30,000, and then you can have however many followers you want. So that's kind of the hard numbers there. But I mean, focus much more on the quality of the connections. So don't go all out and try and connect with as many people as possible. I'm not saying you are, but it's much more important to focus on the quality of connections. But and of course, I mean, you need to have if you're at all active on LinkedIn, you just naturally are going to have you're going to be building connections, and you'll have a few thousand. If you're just posting regularly, I mean, once or twice a week, that'll happen completely on its own. So don't anybody get carried away and impressed by like hundreds of thousands of followers. It means nothing. I mean, are you really are you really have a high quality relationship with 100,000? I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. I'm someone who runs some large groups on LinkedIn, so I have a lot of connections, but I do have rules about it. And so one rule I have that I recommend you all adopt is if I get something from like a salesperson, what I'll say is, I'll connect with you for general networking purposes, but if you send me a sales pitch on LinkedIn, I will disconnect. And if it's a one strike, you're out rule for me. If someone sends me an unsolicited sales pitch, I just say, yeah, I'm sure you're good at what you do, but I'm disconnecting with you because I don't have time for sales pitches on LinkedIn.
And if you do, yeah, if you do want to reach out to somebody, sort of I mean, if I do reach out to attorneys, I've been darn sure to check out their profile, and is it a good fit? You know, do we have something in common? You know, warm it up first, and I would never pitch or promote or sell anything. I mean, you know, I have to buy them dinner first. So
Yeah, exactly.
It's usually how I put it. You have to buy me dinner first. So don't come with a pitch, and things will naturally evolve. It doesn't have to be forced. And sometimes you're just a great connection. We'll have lots of fun and we'll learn from each other. And other times it'll evolve elsewhere. So nothing forced, nothing pitchy, nothing spammy, and you're going to play the long game. You're going to do a lot better here. I mean, this is a virtual gold mine if you treat it respectfully, because you treat people respectfully.
Right.
So.
Exactly. So, and what I find is most lawyers think a lot of times spend a lot of time thinking about ethics and professionalism, and they would never do these things in person. But I think sometimes lawyers lose their minds on LinkedIn and do things they would not do in person. So a simple rule I recommend is don't post anything that you would not stand in front of a room and say, you know, as a lawyer. And I think that, you know, try to follow that one very simple rule, and you'll self-edit a bit, because it tends to feel not real when you're on a social medium, but it's very real to the people reading it. So try to self-edit as much as you can. And
this is something I tell my 15-year-old daughter every day. Don't post anything you can't stand with a, you know, straight up.
On your permanent record. Thank God.
Different topic.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was great. I better let you go, because at least here on the East Coast, it's late in the afternoon, and I hopefully people have some you know, family and friends to hang out with, either virtually or in person. Viveca, this was fantastic. So I really
thank you so much for inviting me, and please everybody connect with me. I will get back to you. It might take a little while, but I'll definitely connect with you, and we can get on a call. And,
I forgot one question in the chat. Someone asked if we can also share the slides. So is that okay if I put them on the site? If you email me the slides, I'll put them on the PARC website. And you can find it there.
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
I'm happy doing that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks,
all
everybody.
right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Viveca.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.